Alrighty, so let's have a talk about UCIC and how they got into this big fraud scandal, but it's not a scandal because they don't wear sandals, only at the beach. But anyway, uh, let's see. Back in 1968, it was established as a complaint that went from 4,000 and went to 8,000 people. Where the complaint was that would the complaint was that which was established to a person um, who was pretty much coming back, and they were gonna hand it over to him, and this, and that. But anyway, who would oversee all these countries, meaning myself. So what happened is the complaint was simple. Was they were taking money from people and just stealing and whatnot. And they claimed that they had an unemployment fund that was, it was people just put money in this fund and whatnot, and it would disperse so much money, which is illegal. Technically, UCIC is illegal um, to establish itself, and that's truthful. So there's no way to get around that. Is that with them building up a fund and whatnot, it's kind of like your little money drawer there, or your money jar. That you have. Some say a piggy bank. I don't say piggy bank because of the way things are. You're kind of asking to get robbed, so a lot of these people that feel that they got screwed and whatnot because someone stole the money. But at the same time, in 1948, there was another, not scandal, because you don't have sandals on, for all the idiots, that established temporary jobs, services, because that's highly illegal to imitate government of any form, even for a prisoner, which the United States is. So, which also some like to reference that USA actually means European Services of that arrested. And when I say arrested, it means you got locked up, put in prison, even though it may not look like a prison, and so forth. So if anyone that ever got arrested and got put in prison and whatnot, and you got put in a house that you don't own, and to be transported by traveling back to Europe, then you realize one thing, okay, is that your time was done. You did your time in prison, which is more likely you went from the prison every day, or a holding facility, or a building, or something of that sort. Doesn't mean you had to wear black and white. It just only means you wore tan or a dark prison green, but it's not a prison green, so the erase prison green. And you went out and you sewed, you know, food for yourself. That's required by law. Is that every prisoner and every hostage must plant their own stuff and grow their own stuff. As ridiculous as this sounds, a lot of people just sat there and like, you're lying. No, this is actually truthful, because most prisoners are put into what looks like a fort, and you're left to yourself. So if you can't get everyone in that prison to want to grow food for themselves, then you guys starve to death, no matter what the charge or what the arrest was over. So to understand what was going on, Trump had a problem with that, and he had a problem with the way the system was working, and the individual who, while in my absence, of being, well, this for me is a little bit more on not being dead, but some would refer to it as being dead and whatnot, where I go into long periods of sleep and whatnot, so on another planet. So with all that said, I came back and whatnot, and they were prepping, getting things prepared overseas in Europe, mainly between Europe and Australia and Czechoslovakia and Finland and Greenland and all that, getting prepared for a new person, as they refer, not really new, to take over everything. And what happened with UCIC is the first part in 1948 was found out to be a scandal. No sooner you give them like $100 they stole, because currency changed in value. You give them $100 and they'd go, and all of a sudden their buddy be like, "Hey, I got you tobacco." And you're like, "Oh man, thanks for my tobacco." And they'd hand over about $1,000 to $4,000 to $8,000 worth of money. What happened was some of them got smarter than they did. The ones who wanted to con to get money and ended up handing it right to me, or deliver it straight to me. They handed it right to the person and whatnot that was responsible. Not really responsible. They were responsible. That was overseeing all the countries, and just ended up getting busted for lying. And it's pretty simple. You had $8,000, and all of a sudden you go 8,100, and you can't explain where you got the 100, and your buddy can't explain because he don't want to lie for you anymore, because he knows that you got busted, and he's going to get busted, and you're going to be arrested and put in prison, especially in a prison country. So, with that being said, Trump, like I said, just wanted to come over and just destroy everyone. Supposedly a crime had happened, and they told Trump, "Okay, we'll go file a complaint first, then we'll see what it actually happened." He didn't want to what's called not search and seizure like a moron, arresting a house. It means that when they arrest a house, things tend to show up differently for certain people who are predoned to investigate something. And when this happens, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You know, they go in, and what they see and what they hear, and everything happens. And to speed this up, 1948 they lost, and 48,000 people went into prison. Now, normally, unless you die, your body can't be exhumed unless someone predoned can exhumes your body. And when I say predoned, I'm not saying undertaker. So an undertaker's a moron. That's a misuse of words. So with that, the information came down. An agent didn't want to handle it, and they handed it to the person and whatnot, and that person handed it over. And he made a decision. And at least to say, he got his ass kicked for a very long time about the decision he made, because he took 20,000, for an example, let's say 20,000 people, 10,000 who were in Europe and 10,000 who were in this country, and he knew that they were messed up. They were fucked up. When I say fucked up, I'm not talking about pot, and I'm not talking about cocaine, I'm not talking about anything of a drug or a medicine. It's what happens when someone takes an experimental, not medication, but experimental liquid, and decides, "Oh, this can do this, and I'm going to go screw with this person," which sometimes happens. Another part of it is the world wars and whatnot, but to keep it pretty much as short as possible, UCIC and UC is in violation of murder, and you can read part of your charges because you're being hit with every law in the European law books. but they're not really law books. And let me explain a book to you. Anytime that you make a nice little book, like you have in your library, you put pictures and diagrams, you're responsible for every freaking word you put in that book. There's only so many books out there that have something that I know of for overseeing people and what they put out to other people, because it's very, very, very strict law even here from Europe about how to I make a book that everyone can read, that no one can like slash my throat for, because that was also happening in this country slightly in the prisons and in Europe, let alone China and Asia and the desert. So anyway, the prisoner got moved to the desert in Kuwait, and just so happens, shit hits the fan with a lot of countries. A lot of countries get pissed and go to war, which Europe kept itself out of, except for don't invade Europe, or you will get fired upon, which was pretty much an aircraft flown over and pamphlets or papers. I like to say papers, not pamphlets. Because if you knew what a pamphlet was, you wouldn't be giving out your maxi pad so quickly. But anyway, I'm going to stop here for a second.